And joining me right now is former South Carolina Congressman, former chairman of the House Oversight Committee, Tray Gowdy is with me right now. He's also a Fox News contributor and a former federal prosecutor. Congressman, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Well, what was it, a year and a half ago when Adam Schiff came out and went on the Sunday morning programs and said, I have more than circumstantial evidence that there was collusion between the Trump campaign and the Russians? How is it possible that he has not corrected himself at this point, since we've heard from the Senate, the House, the DOJ, and now through Andrew McCabe's own words, the FBI, that we have yet to see any collusion?
Well, he never goes on shows where he's actually going to be pressed on it. I mean, what a brilliant strategy Adam has. I'm going to make this bombastic statement completely unsupported by the facts, but I'm never going to go on any show where I'm asked about it. Maria, the House Intelligence Committee, no evidence of conspiracy between the Trump campaign and Russia. The Senate Intelligence Committee, and remember, the media loved the Senate investigation. They didn't care too much about Devin Nunes in the House, but they loved Richard Burr in the Senate investigation. No evidence of conspiracy between the Trump campaign and Russia. Mueller's indictments, no indictments showing conspiracy between the Trump campaign and Russia. There's never been a witness who's alleged conspiracy between the Trump campaign and Russia, and yet Adam Schiff, that three-eyed raven, Adam Schiff, who can see things nobody else can see, says he has evidence more than circumstantial, not quite direct. By the way, for those who didn't go to law school, there's no such thing. There's no such thing as evidence that is not circumstantial or direct. But Adam has seen it, and he's never pressed on it.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible, actually, because, you know, this issue is still out there. We're waiting for Robert Mueller to wrap up his report with some conclusions here. But at this point, we're hearing from people like Andrew McCabe, who is now on a book tour, as you know, talking about things like 25th Amendment, how this effort was underway to remove the president, and how he was so sure that he needed that investigation in place to make sure to find the collusion. What do you make of Andrew McCabe out the way he is, talking about what he's been talking about, even though he's been referred for criminal charges by the Inspector General?
Well, let's go back to May the 9th, I believe it was. Comey is fired, and Andy McCabe wants you to believe that the Department of Justice and the FBI were just in utter chaos, and they thought the President of the United States might be an agent of Russia, and they thought the President of the United States may be guilty of criminal obstruction of justice. This is May the 9th of 2017. 2 days later, Andy McCabe is before the Senate Intelligence Committee with the entire world watching. It's on worldwide television. And he's got the Senate Intelligence Committee, and he doesn't say one single solitary word about Donald Trump being an agent of Russia or criminally obstructing justice. And if that's not good enough, if 2 days wasn't enough time for Andy to process that, in June of 2017, he's right back before the Senate Intelligence Committee. If you really believed, Andy, that Donald Trump was an agent of Russia, why did you tell CBS and not Congress? If you really, Andy, believed that Donald Trump criminally obstructed justice, why did you tell CBS, but you didn't tell the United States Congress a month after you discovered it?
Yeah, I mean, this is really stunning, because he was in Washington testifying back-to-back days, and he didn't say anything about that then. He also didn't discuss what we learned in the CBS interview, that there were actually 3 investigations into Donald Trump or his campaign or his presidency. Isn't that right?
Yeah, there were 4 opportunities that Andy McCabe had to tell either the House or the Senate what he told CBS. 4 separate, independent opportunities to do so. And the reason I say 3 investigations, you had the July 2016 investigation that was initiated and signed off on by Peter Strzok. That was into the Trump campaign. And then when Comey is fired, Andy McCabe proudly told CBS that he launched his own counterintelligence investigation into whether or not Donald Trump was an agent of Russia, and then, for good measure, he launched a criminal investigation into obstruction of justice. So I'm not great with math, but that's 3 separate investigations into a duly elected president, near as I can tell, simply because he fired Jim Comey.
Right, or they didn't like him. I mean, you know, obviously we know they didn't like him based on all those biased texts between Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, but I mean, you're a former federal prosecutor. Don't you need a predicate, a real evidence-based reason to launch a criminal investigation into a duly elected sitting president?
You need an evidentiary basis to launch an investigation into anyone, whether it's the President of the United States or not. And that's also true with counterintelligence investigations. I mean, look, the American people give these awesome powers to our law enforcement agencies. And those powers are to keep us safe from foreign adversaries and domestic adversaries. We give them awesome powers.
Yeah.
And what they do not expect is for Andy McCabe or Peter Strzok or Lisa Page to have these historic levels of bias and launch counterintelligence and criminal investigations simply because you wish someone had not been elected president.
Right, exactly. All right.